The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi everyone, this is Isaac from the Religious Action Center. Thank you for joining our webinar today about the Community Purchasing Alliance and ways that your congregation can get involved. We have a few folks on the call today. In just a minute we're going to introduce everyone, but what I want to do is first direct you to the control panel that you see on your screen. If you're looking right now, you'll see a copy of the control panel in your in the window that we're sharing with you, and there are just a couple keys that we want to clue you into. The first is how you can minimize the control panel. Clicking on those two little arrows that are pointing to the right will actually minimize that entire box so that you can focus on what's on your screen. Right beneath that, you'll see an opportunity for you to raise your hand. If you raise your hand, it'll call attention to you as a participant, maybe saying that you want to ask a question. Just so you know, we're going to leave everybody in listen-only mode until we get to the end of the webinar, so that in case there's a dog barking in the background or a car driving by, that it doesn't distract the rest of the participants. If you raise your hand at the end, we'll give you an opportunity to ask a question in person, and I'll unmute you so that you can ask that question. At the bottom of the dialog box that you have, or the control panel, is a questions area. If you'd rather not ask your question in person and you just rather type it to us, you can type it in there. I'll receive that question, and then at the end of the webinar, I'll also present it to the staff so that they can ask. It's pretty basic. If you have any problems, just go ahead and type it into the question box, and I'll do my best to help you as we go. What I'd like to do now, though, is just introduce everyone who's on the call and who will be presenting. I'm Isaac Newell. I'm the RAC's Manager of Congregational Social Action. In my role, I help congregations, clergy, social action chairs, and committees really advance their work in any of a number of ways. The Community Purchasing Alliance is one of those ways. It's something that we at the movement really feel is a great opportunity for congregations to get involved, to save money, and to advance their own agendas. I also I help congregations with programming, with toolkit resources, you name it. So if there's ever anything that I can do to help you at your congregation, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'm always happy to help. What I'd like to do now, though, is introduce Ellen Agler. I'll let her introduce herself, actually. So Ellen, take it away. Ellen, are you there? Well, we can't hear Ellen right now, but I'll tell you that Ellen is the Executive Director at Temple Sinai in Washington, D.C. Ellen is great. She's been a member of the Washington Interfaith Network for quite a while. She is on the steering committee for the Community Purchasing Alliance, and she's really been the one who's been spearheading bringing this to the greater community. Trying to get other congregations involved, not just within the Reform movement, but also in the conservative, Orthodox, and other movements. And so Ellen is really a great person and a great resource, and she's going to present in a minute. Felipe is he's actually a staff person with Community Purchasing Alliance. Felipe is going to present on this webinar as someone who can really talk about the nitty-gritty. He's going to help answer any of the questions that you might have about how this works, about what it entails for a congregation. And he's going to be the person who's going to really walk you through what a Community Purchasing Alliance is and what you need to do in order to advance this on your congregation's end. And then Richard Anderson is with Cqi Associates. Cqi Associates is the group that oversees the Community Purchasing Alliance, that helps with the contracting that congregations do, and he's really he's going to be a great asset to us as well. So if you'll give us 1 second, we're just going to try and troubleshoot Ellen's audio. 1 second, and we will get going.
Hello, can the group hear me now?
We can hear you, Ellen.
Wonderful. Sorry about my technical difficulties. It's great to be on the line with all of you today. And I wanted to start off by giving you a brief overview of what we've been doing with group purchasing through the Washington Interfaith Network and our new Community Purchasing Alliance that we hope you all will learn about today and have an opportunity to participate as well. So Temple Sinai here in DC got involved with group purchasing a couple of years ago. We were members of the Washington Interfaith Network, which is a very large group in the region, for those of you who might not be aware, that brings together faith-based churches, temples, synagogues, multi-faith, to do a lot of good for the community, community organizing around improving housing, jobs, the environment, for example. And a few years ago, they decided it would be beneficial to bring their members together to purchase electricity as a group. And the primary motivation was to save their member institutions money on electricity, but also to do so in a way that was consistent with the mission-driven nature of the work that WIN does, which for electricity procurement meant looking for energy that was environmentally sustainable and would help with greening the environment. So at the time, they partnered with an electricity procurement partner, a group called Groundswell, and the work together began. Here at Temple Sinai, I already had done electricity purchasing on my own and had negotiated rates for a number of years, but I was interested in what WIN was doing to see if it could save our temple more money, and also thought it was a nice way to continue the value of our connection with WIN and all of the great community organizing work WIN was doing for all of us in the region. So, it was a very interesting process to go through. The first thing was, it was very easy. All I needed to do was to submit information that was available on my electricity bill. I could do it online. I could do it on paper, fax it in. The organizers made it very easy to participate. The organizers also were very accessible to me individually and to all of our groups that were learning about this, many for the first time. They had webinars, but more importantly, they were available individually by phone or email to answer questions. It was a very transparent process. And I learned a lot about energy purchasing, enough about how the market worked to learn that buying electricity as a part of a group and signing multi-year contracts for it was in the best interest of Temple Sinai. It saved us money in the short term and would give us more predictable savings into the future. But my participation with this effort was also more than just about getting the lowest price, though, of course, that was what attracted me and dozens of other temples and churches to participate. It was around the mission values of environment as well. This group was committed to purchasing green energy. In this case, we purchased wind power. Environmental sustainability was a very important value and was something that really resonated for the leaders here at our temple. This was a way that kind of the work of the building committee and the administration on being responsible for costs, in this case for our electricity costs, intersected and was woven very closely in with our social justice priorities and initiatives around greening the environment and environmental sustainability. And not only was Temple Sinai as an institution able to get these low rates for responsible energy, but the lower rates were also passed on to our members. They could choose to take advantage of the special purchasing power that we had as a group. So we got very energized here at Temple Sinai about the whole co-op aspect of this as well. The notion that if Temple Sinai partnered with other churches and synagogues in the area, that we had significantly more power for purchasing, for greening the environment than any one of us could have done alone. And that was part of what made this effort very special. Another interesting dimension is that institutions of all different sizes benefited. Temple Sinai is a relatively large facility, as is the RAC. There were many churches and temples that participated that were significantly smaller, had lower utilization, but all of us benefited. Large organizations benefited financially and really helped the smaller churches and synagogues also realize very significant savings proportional to their budgets. and it freed up dollars for all of us to be able to do other mission-driven work for our congregations. I don't know if any of you may have seen that this effort back in mid-2011, 2012 got a lot of national press. There were articles in the New York Times, the Associated Press picked it up, the Washington Post, talking about this very innovative group purchasing model for nonprofit faith-based institutions. It really captured the excitement and attention nationally of what we were doing here locally together. So after this success, this Washington Interfaith Network, this WIN group that came together with Groundswell for Electricity, was interested in doing more group purchasing even beyond electricity. The group was really excited about the opportunities to purchase other utilities like natural gas together, which in many of our regions is deregulated now also. But there was the potential for other services that we all spend a lot of money on to be able to purchase together and all save. Things like supplies for our building, trash hauling services, and we were thinking even things like payroll processing, copier leasing, were all things we could come together on and contract to do better for all of us. Felipe, who was introduced earlier on the call, who is our staffer now for the Community Purchasing Alliance, our new group, he was an employee of Groundswell, this initial group that did the electricity purchasing at the time, and he got to know our Washington Interfaith Network, our regional group, and also was very excited about the prospect of doing more beyond just electricity. The Groundswell organization, however, was really not interested in pursuing purchasing beyond electricity. They didn't share this bigger vision of what our group could do together. And it ended up that Felipe left Groundswell and that WIN, the Washington Interfaith Network, funded Felipe as a staff member to help us continue the work of this group and to form the Community Purchasing Alliance. I had the opportunity to join the steering committee within the past year and have been very encouraged about the potential for our group to grow and to continue to do great things together. And even just over the past 6 months or so, the co-op hired a consultant to do a feasibility study, and it was determined that we could be successful fulfilling this vision and be sustainable as an independent co-op if we continue to grow our membership and can implement a model where our members are buying a core group of services together as a foundation, and then we can expand from there. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later in our presentation. Also, we were networking more and more with national co-op groups around the country and found out that what we're doing here in the DC area with Community Purchasing Alliance is unique and innovative in that we are the only co-op nationally that is a co-op of nonprofit organizations, of nonprofit mission, faith-based organizations, and the power of the ability to weave in our mission-driven values with the cost savings through group purchasing is something very exciting, and people are watching around the country at what we're doing here. And also within the past 6 months or so, we have had some more successful purchases. We've done group purchasing of natural gas, and that's been with the help of CQI and Richard Anderson, who's on the line with us today. We've also had a successful purchase of trash hauling services and done a lot of really great foundation planning to carry us into the future.
Thanks, Ellen. So what I'd like to do is just talk a little bit about why the reform movement is presenting this. And you can see, as Ellen's been talking on your screen, there have been a couple different slides that have really allowed you the opportunity to know more about what this is, that cooperatives not only save congregations money, they improve quality of services that are received. They benefit greater communities by supporting sustainable practices and just initiatives, if you will. And that they're member-owned. Ellen, do you have more that you want to add about that?
No, that's a great summary, Isaac. Thanks.
Great. So the reform movement is committed to a lot of practices that really drive the value of co-op purchasing home for our congregations. We're committed to fair employment, to environmental justice, to really treating the stranger as our own. Through groups like Community Purchasing Alliance, we really have some great opportunities to advance our causes and our values in ways that actually help other people more than we could do with simple donations or kind of verbal support. Contracts that we've seen arranged through the Community Purchasing Alliance actually ensure that the companies that we're selecting provide employees with fair wages and safe working conditions. That's something that is really at the core of worker justice and fair employment practices when it comes to Reform Jewish beliefs. And there's also a profit-sharing piece to community purchasing and co-op purchasing, and that of the large discount, the thousands of dollars that are saved, a small fraction of that ends up going back into the Community Purchasing Alliance to kind of further the work and find new opportunities and new engagement for more congregations and kind of this expanded community that they're constantly working to find. And so with the money that's fed back in, groups like Washington Interfaith Network receive crucial funding that supports our shared mission. By supporting homeless individuals, by providing free electricity or deeply discounted electricity to the lowest income families, and supporting these true like social justice initiatives that our congregations are already engaged in their communities. So it's not just about saving money, but which is always nice. Like our congregations love that, and as organizations, I mean, nobody's going to complain about saving money on the same things, the same purchases that we're already making. But it really is about bettering our community and helping out those in our communities who aren't able to help themselves. And that's the really feel-good piece about all of this. Just a little bit of background on who's participated in the Community Purchasing Alliance in this specific initiative in the D.C. area, and now it's expanding out to Virginia, to Maryland as well. So we have Temple Sinai, Temple Micah, both Reform congregations in the area, Addis Israel, which is our conservative congregation in D.C. We have Adat Shalom, Ohev Shalom, Tefereth Israel, Tikvat Israel, and also the Religious Action Center. The Reform Movement's office here in Washington, D.C. Is an active member of the Community Purchasing Alliance working to, buy green energy, to save money in our energy purchases and really to advance our values in all that we're doing, so that we're not just advocating for change on Capitol Hill or working with our congregations to help them make an impact, but our own building is actually a part of this, and that's something that we're really quite proud of. So what I want to do right now is turn it over to Felipe, who can explain a little bit more about how this works with Washington Interfaith Network and the Community Purchasing Alliance. So Felipe, are you there?
Yes, thank you so much, Isaac. So basically, the Washington Interfaith Network, has a set of members. They also have sister organizations in Northern Virginia, also Montgomery County, Howard County, and Baltimore. And so a lot of our hope is to expand through those other sister organizations, which are all part of this national network, IAF, the Industrial Areas Foundation. So WIN has been the sponsoring entity of a lot of our work so far, and we, with Ellen on the steering team and about 7 other steering team members, we're hoping to actually formally launch the Community Purchasing Alliance as a functional cooperative with your participation and many others right here in the next several months. The energy purchasing we've done over the past 2 years will be a key part of that. We'll also begin to offer other services, as Ellen mentioned, the waste hauling, also cleaning supplies, facility maintenance supplies, lighting, hardware, also copy machines, payroll services. There's a whole host of other services we're planning to expand to over the next several months. So this diagram essentially shows how WIN is kind of our founding entity. And they've kind of led to kind of our current status. They're our current parent organization, but we will be separately incorporated in a couple months. Then you, as members, participants, do the purchasing. And the large benefit to you is that large arrow to the right that shows the deep savings you guys get as members. That's 5 to 35% savings in different categories. Then there's a small portion, kind of 1 to 3%, that's the rebate revenue that comes back to the Community Purchasing Alliance, and that funds our operating costs. So in the past year, the energy purchasing, that was about 2%, and that actually ended up paying my salary currently. Our hope is to grow to a size of about 200 or more members, in which case there's additional money beyond the operating costs that can then be given back as a member dividend back for your purchasing in the cooperative, and then also as a dividend to Washington Interfaith Network for their organizing work. And that's part of the social mission, how it's built into the fabric of the cooperative. So that's a brief overview. Turning to the next slide here, the amount of savings really varies based on your purchasing. So smaller congregations can achieve meaningful savings in certain areas more than others, clearly. For electricity and natural gas, where they don't consume as much, there is smaller savings. So here in this chart, we have the example of Temple Micah, Temple Sinai, and the Religious Action Center. You see here that on electricity, there's been significant savings for Temple Sinai on the scale of 4,000 this past year. Temple Micah, that's been closer to 1,000, and the rack closer to 1,500. For natural gas, you see those red bars. And then for waste hauling, you see it's actually more significant for the smaller institution because they weren't able to negotiate as good of a contract as Ellen was with her provider, and so they're actually able to get deeper savings. Or in this case, the trash company was very much taking advantage of the smaller congregation and charging increased environmental fees and other fees that really just made up fees. And so we've seen a lot of unscrupulous kind of practices from some of the waste hauling industry. And the cooperative really tries to push for group accountability and is able to deliver that and offer that to members. So if you're having a problem with your waste hauling vendor, you can work with the cooperative and say, look, if you don't kind of fix this problem, there'll be repercussions, not just for me, but for the 20 or 50 or 200 congregations that are currently purchasing through this contract. And that's some of the power of the collective that we see. In general, we expect with just these three categories, you see the savings range from $5,000 to $7,000. When you expand this to 2 or 3 or 4 other areas, we see the savings grow quite a bit. So the benefit of joining can be quite substantial for congregations. Looking ahead, our plan is to kind of go forward with electricity and natural gas purchase this month and next month. We'll talk a little bit more in a second about that. We'll then launch group purchasing for additional areas later this year in office and cleaning supplies and other areas. We then will be asking for, we'll be kind of some education with our members and our participants so far to say, look, now we're actually going to begin to incorporate this formally as a cooperative. And to effectively do that, we want each congregation participating to actually say, now I'm going to become a member owner of the cooperative. And that's going to entail an upfront investment from congregations, ranging from $750 for smaller congregations up to $5,000 for very large congregations. And that member investment is also your membership share. So it's your annual vote at the annual meeting to elect the board of directors and for other big decisions that are brought before the cooperative. So it really is it's a cooperative business, but it's owned by the congregation. And that's what's so exciting, I think, about this is that the decision-making is from the collective. And it's been very effective in many other areas. For example, True Value Cooperative is a hardware store cooperative that they're all independent businesses owned by independent franchises, but they're able to compete and offer prices competitive with Home Depot and Lowe's and stay in business. And so that's some of the cooperative movement more broadly has shown it is a very effective model, and we were able to draw some of those principles for our purposes here with Community Purchasing Alliance. Our goal is to really do active recruitment throughout the year 2014 and grow to about 100 members by the beginning of 2015, and then continue to grow after that. And what's, I think, exciting about this cooperative is that if we can demonstrate it successfully in our region in D.C., Maryland, and Virginia, this could be something that could be expanded to other parts of the country as well. And we're very excited to work with the Reform Movement and other religious denominations to be able to expand through their networks as well. So for energy, a brief history here. In March 2012, we had 110 organizations that purchased almost $5 million in electricity together. That was the largest group we've had to date, and the default rate was about 8.9 cents per kilowatt hour for the upcoming period. And the group rate, which we negotiated, which also included 100% renewable energy, was closer to 8.3 cents per kilowatt hour, or nearly 7% savings. The third bullet kind of also just, we're very transparent in this process and want you to understand how this works. So that 8.3 cents, in addition to including the 100% renewable energy, also included 0.3 cents, which was the rebate portion that came back to the cooperative that both helped fund the Washington Interfaith Network organizing and also the staff and operating for the cooperative. So this fall, now in 2013, we're working with Cqi Associates as our main energy partner. So they will be doing the soliciting of bids from suppliers once we gather all the information from participants about your energy bills. And as Ellen explained, it's a very simple process, just putting your account numbers for your electricity and or your gas bills in the application, and that can be done online or on paper. And then using CQI's vast experience in this area, and I'll turn it to Richard here in a second. They've been doing this for quite a long time, and are able to offer that long experience with the great relationships they have with suppliers to really be able to get very meaningful savings for the congregations. If we don't find a deal that makes sense, it isn't better than the standard price or the price you get on your own, we don't move forward. And there's not a commitment from your part until you see that the indicative prices are indeed going to be meaningful savings for institutions on energy. So I'll now turn it over to Richard just to share a little bit more about the process we're going to be going through here in the fall. Essentially, we're in the final stages now of collecting applications, and it'd be great if you could email me. On the next slide will show my email address, and I can send you an application, and we'll filling that out and returning it puts you into the group. And then with that information, we then go to market on your behalf and come back to you with a set of prices that we've received for the group. And then there's move forward from there with selecting a winning supplier and executing contracts with that supplier once we've chosen a winner. Richard, maybe I'll give it over to you now to explain a little bit more. Richard, are you in the line?
No, I'm not.
There you are. We can hear you, Richard.
Yeah,
there you are
now. Well, hello, everyone, and it's been an excellent presentation up to this point. Just for everyone's background, Cqi Associates has been around since 1995. We are energy and sustainability consultants headquartered in Columbia, Maryland. When deregulation started in 2000, by 2002, we were deeply involved in the process with our corporate and institutional clients. By 2003, we had started a series of procurement cooperative groups, very similar to what you're doing. A number of them were chamber-based or faith-based with the archdiocese in the region. Today we have 26 cooperative programs actively working in Maryland, Delaware, the District of Columbia, and Illinois, and we're developing cooperative programs right now as deregulation begins in California. Our role here is to provide the expertise, support, and be the functional person to administer the electricity and natural gas procurements, to do it in a full and transparent basis with competitive bidding. And we have found through the thousands of people that have been involved in our co-op programs through the chambers and other organizational groups that buying as in a group buying in a cooperative basis provides opportunities for all of you to lower your costs, to be in a volume buying program that would be equal to some of our major corporate clients like Northrop Grumman and Care First and AutoNation and Fuji, and to get that same benefit across the spectrum of everybody involved in the program. To date, we've done a few electricity contracts that we needed to put into the program. We've done a group buying program on natural gas where we saw some significant savings, and the 2-year contract that we've put everybody in has already proven that it is a rate that will be well below the forecasted and current rates that are going for natural gas. And as Felipe said, the process is very easy. There's an application form so we can get all the basic information and approvals and necessary requirements to put you into the program, obtain the correct account information from the utilities, authorize the suppliers to do the same, and then come back on a designated day with an offer for the group that's enrolled in the program that could bring additional value and long-term budget stability, and it will have a green component that will meet everyone's mission to be a part of the program. As Felipe said, the only time when a commitment would need to be made is when that final offer is presented. It will only be presented if it will bring you value, and at that moment you will be presented a contract of which you will have to make a decision of whether you voluntarily decide to proceed with signing the contract with your new supplier, or you can elect to pass and go on to something else or look at another option. With our co-op programs to date, we're seeing when we make an offer, a significant number of members, over 90%, do take advantage of it because it makes sense. It provides them the benefits that they were looking for, and it provides them the budget stability that they need. In our oldest chamber cooperative program, which is with the Baltimore-Washington Corridor Chamber, we've basically been able to maintain and in a few cases, years, lower the rates almost at the same level for 7 years. And so this long-term flattening out the energy budget number, then allowing you to go out and look at other ways to reduce consumption and cost has been a huge benefit to the members. And it's paid itself over and over again in the results that they get. Most of our chamber members are able to get a savings, pay for all their participation in the chamber and other programs out of the savings that they're getting on an annual basis. So we look forward to your participation. We're going to be here through the entire enrollment process, helping you with the bid process. And then I think the biggest benefit that we provide, and it's a benefit that we think is important, is we're going to be here to provide ongoing customer service throughout the term of the contract that you're in. There'll be things that will happen. Billing may not be correct. You may want to change accounts. You may add a new service, and you just need to pick the phone up and call one of our staff members, and we will be there to help you throughout the whole term of your contract and beyond. Did I miss anything, Felipe?
No, I think that was great, Richard. I'll just add kind of two pieces in this last slide here. You see applications are due on Friday, October 25th. That's next Friday. Richard, as you can tell, is a wealth of information, and he has a longer presentation that we will be doing on October 22nd on Tuesday at 5 p.m. And this will kind of go into a little more detail on some of the specifics, if that would be helpful. But if it's not on a necessary conference call, just something if you're interested in getting into more of the specifics of the energy markets and the standard prices and how the savings are calculated and those types of things. You can email me. It's felipe@cpa.coop for an application, or you can visit our website, cpa.coop/join. There's a brief interest form there you'll be directed to that just kind of puts your information in, so we have that, and I can follow up with you more just to answer any questions you may have individually. Also, the other big next step is as we prepare for forming the cooperative as a Community Purchasing Alliance in early 2014, Ellen and I are available to meet and discuss that, and specifically the terms of the membership agreement, the initial investment, and the other purchasing areas and categories we're going to begin rolling out here, and definitely want to have that conversation with each of you over the next several months. So both Ellen and I are available for phone calls or in-person meetings, and are excited to kind of share more about this. So this point, I think I'll turn it back over to you, Isaac, and we can take some questions.
Great, absolutely. So thank you all for taking the time to join, and we have one question that's come in. If you do have questions for any of the presenters, we'd be happy to answer those. The options for asking questions are you can raise your hand. I see that there's one hand raised right now, and I'll get to that in a moment. You can also type a question into the dialog box. If you raise your hand, you do need to have either a microphone and speakers available, or you need to have your audio pin typed in on the phone, but we'll get there in a moment. The first question that came in from Catherine Meyer is, can somebody, Felipe, maybe you, please just clarify who this co-op is open to, who is able to join the Community Purchasing Alliance as far as geography goes?
Yes, the Community Purchasing Alliance is open to any congregation right now in Northern Virginia for natural gas services, and then other office supplies and cleaning supplies. Virginia does not have electricity as a deregulated retail service. In Maryland and D.C., any congregation can participate both in electricity, the gas, the waste hauling, and the other supplies purchasing areas we're going to be offering. So the geography is only limited in the sense that Virginia is not able to do electricity, but everything else they are able to.
Great. Karen, I've just unmuted you. Can you ask your question?
Sure, thanks. Mine's a curiosity, and maybe it's best addressed to Ellen. I'm with Temple Road of Shalom, and like many congregations in the area, we've been working with Interfaith Power and Light for years. And I was disappointed to learn that you aren't incorporating them into this alliance. Is that a possibility in order to, at least on the energy front, to make us the biggest possible source?
There was a bit of feedback. Ellen, did you get that?
No, I couldn't quite hear the question.
Okay, Karen, can you try asking one more time or typing your question in?
I'll try one more time and then go off the air and type it in if needed. As our temple is a member of Interfaith Power and Light, I was disappointed to hear that they're not included in this co-op. We've worked with them for years, wondering if their inclusion might increase our buying power, at least in energy.
So Felipe, it sounds like this is a question of Interfaith Power and Light. That was a group that had participated with Groundswell in the earlier energy procurements, and how that group does or doesn't relate to Community Purchasing Alliance.
Yeah, great question, Karen. And so the evolution, we've been actively collaborating with Joelle Novi and her great team and the broad network of Interfaith Power and Light, which has a large reach of congregations in the region, very interested in sustainability. And that's, we've shared that mission since the beginning with them. And Joelle actually helped recruit a lot of institutions to our group in 2012, mainly because the competitive process really was able to drive down rates and also get a better green product, a better 100% certified renewable energy credits for the group. More recently, since we've kind of parted ways with Groundswell, the decision-making was really with our congregation. Decision-making at Groundswell was really a staff-led decision-making process, and we want it to be a congregation-led decision-making process. And so Ellen, I think, can speak to that our steering team really sets our direction. And so when we began to explore other purchasing areas that weren't 100% clean energy related, that became part of why our direction is a little bit more broad in scope, and really the focus is on the decision-making with the institutions. And so that's kind of how we just began. We did this feasibility study that Ellen mentioned, and it's only in the past 3 months that it's really become clear to us that this is a viable cooperative that can achieve these multiple social purposes as well as meaningful savings for institutions. And that's kind of the kind of direction we're headed right now. We do want to be collaborative. We want partners of all types and sorts, and so we hope that Interfaith Power and Light will continue to be a partner moving forward.
Great, thanks. I don't see any other hands raised. I'll give you just another moment. If you do have a question that you'd like to ask, feel free to raise your hand or type a question in. Oh, here we go. Russell, you're on.
Yeah, hi. I'm down in Richmond, Virginia, and I don't know if we're in your catchment basin at all, or if you have any plans to come down this way, because it sounds intriguing to me for gas and electric.
Great question. Yeah, Russell, I think unfortunately, if you currently pay Washington Gas and Light, you're in the catchment area. If you don't have them as your gas utility, which I don't think you do, then you're not necessarily going to be for those energy services for this fall. But as we expand to office supplies and cleaning supplies and other facilities, maintenance, back office services, we would definitely love to include you. So if you want to fill out just a brief interest form, we'll be reaching back out to you over the next couple of months as those other services come, things we'd love to invite you to join.
Just a quick question. Are you Columbia Gas? Or who is your gas provider?
We don't have gas. We heat with oil.
Okay.
And our electricity is Dominion Virginia Power.
Okay.
Well, your oil heating, we probably won't get to right away, but we have a good number of congregations that are oil heating in the Maryland area, and so we will be beginning that process, although it's a kind of more locally constrained, but in 2014 we'll be beginning to do oil purchasing.
Great. I see that Karen Menicelli has a couple questions. Karen?
Oh, I typed them in.
Well then I'll ask them for you. So the first question that Karen asked, are there mandatory services for co-op members?
Yeah, great question. We're still in the process of finalizing those kind of membership specifics. Our sense is we do want members to be very committed to the group and invested in the future of it. So we do want them to purchase in at least 4 or 5 different areas. That might be electricity, gas, waste, office supplies, or it might be payroll services, HVAC maintenance, janitorial services. I think we're going to be flexible with how we do that. So initially, we do want you to join in at least a couple areas, and then there's not going to be anything mandatory, although we definitely will highly encourage the energy and also the office and cleaning supplies as kind of core areas. We also think there's a lot of opportunity for savings in the waste services, so we'll certainly encourage those as well. But if you have a vendor you particularly like in a certain area and you don't want to switch, we definitely understand that and respect that decision, and that makes a lot of sense to us too. So there's nothing mandatory in that regard.
Great. And Karen also asks, is the co-op investment an annual fee or a one-time fee?
It's a one-time fee, and that can be paid over 2 or 3 years. If your congregation is about $1 million annual operating revenue, it's about a $2,000 member investment. You could pay that over 2 years, so $1,000 the first year, $1,000 the second year. But there's no ongoing fees beyond that afterwards, no ongoing membership dues.
Great. Sandy.
Hi. I'm asking this question not as a RAC staffer, which I am, and by the way, I've been involved. I'm the person that has coordinated all of the contracting with for the RAC building. I've been really satisfied. But I'm asking this question on behalf of my own personal congregation in Virginia that was unable to be on the call today. Waste management services, is that something that might be available in Northern Virginia in the near future?
I believe so. I believe it is available currently, and sometimes depends on the specific local jurisdiction, but in most cases it is.
Okay, great.
Okay. If there are no other questions, I'll just give everyone a couple more seconds to either type them in or raise their hand. All right. Well, it looks like...
I might just add
Go for it, yeah.
A couple of final comments here. We're just really eager to kind of share with you kind of next steps, and if you would be interested in filling out the interest form on our website, cpa.coop/join, and that'll cue us to give you a call and reach out, and we'd love to have the conversation move further, especially in the energy space in the near term here, but also as we expand to roll up the whole suite of services as a co-op and have you guys join. So just wanted to encourage you to fill out the interest form.
Great. Thank you all so much for attending and for taking the 45 minutes to learn a little bit more about Community Purchasing Alliance. If you have questions, Felipe's contact information is up on the screen. We'll make sure that you get a follow-up email from one of us, probably either from Felipe or from Ellen, with everyone's contact information. And we'll also make sure that copies of the slides are available for you, just in case you want to take this to your rabbi or to someone else in your temple, maybe the board, to discuss further. So we really appreciate everyone taking the time today, and we hope you have a great rest of your day. Take care.